What's good? Back again for another video. It's been a little bit since I've been working on this thing, but back at it again. Tonight we're going to be working on finishing up the rear fender. I have this little guy to finish plugging up. This is just some filler to over the spots that were a little bit low from welding. I got to touch up those two little holes there as well as on the other side. And then probably sand this and throw some primer on it. I did, just because it was a little bit boring and tedious, I finished the other side, just went on it with the wire wheel on the Dremel, or actually I think it was like a Scotch-Brite wheel, and kind of just went over all of the cases and everything just to kind of clean them up because they were very corroded. So that looks a little better and matches the other side. And I did get the new master cylinder. This is actually for it's a knockoff one, but it's like same build as like a KTM 450 EXC. So it definitely has a lot more grab to it, and I was able to bleed it because the old one was so, just gummed up over the years. The only thing that you lose if you do this particular one is the cables that plug into it that actuate the brake light. But since I usually use foot brake to actuate the brake and just braking in general, with in addition to this, that's not really a problem for me. So, but yeah, you can see the rear fender's off of there. I did another wash on this just because I was doing some sanding on it, and from cleaning up this caused a lot of dust, so I cleaned it up again. And I believe that was about all that was done to it. Besides, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I hooked up the carb, had to make a custom intake boot to fit the pod filter, since I do not have the airbox cover, and we'll have to see if that'll take an effect, because this is like a CV style carb. It has a boot on the slide. So I think it does need some vacuum, but we'll see if this pod filter has enough to do it. So I think we're going to start doing some welding on this guy. I finally was able to get some more welding rod for the welder. Testing out a new brand. It's just an Amazon, I think it's Yes Welder it's called. Had good reviews, so we'll see. Usually I use either a Lincoln or what's the Harbor Freight brand, Vulcan. Works good, so we'll see how the Amazon stuff does, because it's pretty cheap. I think you can get about 3 of those for like almost the price of one of like Lincoln or similar sort of thing. So yeah, we're gonna weld this and throw some primer on it then. Alright, I went ahead and did the flap disc over the whole thing, and then I put a little bit of that finer Bondo just over the smaller little divots. So now I'm just going to hand sand the whole fender now that everything's filled in, and then I'm going to lightly go over this primer on the front fender, and hopefully we'll get to this as well, doing the sanding on that. I might have to use the orbital sander on that just because there's some rust spots that I'd like to get down to. But here's the front fender. Alright, so the sanding's pretty much done, so now I'm just going to go over everything with some mineral spirits, just to take off any of the dust and other residue that would still be on this. I was just wetting it down with some simple green soapy water, just to give it a little bit less of an abrasive. So I think this stuff is kind of harsh on primed parts, so let's see. But I just want to use a little bit just to get off the dust. Alright, for the underside, we're just using some flat black paint and primer. Nothing special, just something to coat it over the old spots where it was starting to make its way through with rust, or where I burned through and whatnot. Alright, I got the fender, or rear and front fender, both primed as well. I just taped off and removed a little bit of gas that I had in here on all the exits. So now we're just going to go over it with the orbital sander, I think with 220 grit with this, and then I'm going to switch to hand sanding just to scuff over everything for primer. Alright, same deal as the fenders. I lightly sanded it, scuffed all the surfaces, and then wiped it down with mineral spirits. Now we're going to put on some more primer on this. And let's go. Alright, you can tell I wasn't really doing a fantastic job on the priming, but tank, fender, and rear fender are now done. So we're going to let that dry overnight, and then we'll give it a light sanding and put on the color coat. And that will be done in a much cleaner fashion. I'll probably hang them so I can get a better coat. But that'll do it for tonight. Alright. Tonight we're going to be working on a couple welding projects. So for one, I think I already talked about this in another video, but this is the original foot brake lever. This is a drum brake system, but very similar to the other one, just not as strong, but we'll get to that in a second. But basically I'm going to be welding this piece that was originally out here because they were like forward controls, and I cut it shorter, and I'm going to be welding this guy on there. So that would be better for the mid controls I'm going to be making. And then I was also thinking, since I'm shortening that, the braking might not be as good. So I got the pivot arm that the other end of the brake line goes to, and cut it right there. Actually, I think it was this way. And then I cut a piece of, I think it's like 3/16 or 1/4 inch steel that I'm going to be using to extend it, just like that. So that'll get me some more leverage that's lost there, since these are drum brakes, of course, and they're never going to be as good as discs, but they can work pretty good still. So I'm going to get that one and that one. So I'll probably just do another time lapse for that. But first I'm going to get them tacked up into place. Okay, I went ahead and just welded that piece on to here, as well as extended that one. And then threw a little bit of paint on just because I thought it looked a little nice to have a little contrast on there. And I had to grind away the chrome finish on that anyway, so. But, yeah, so pretty much it's just going to be putting the arm back how it was. And there's 2 arrows, one on the rod arm and then one on the shaft that you have to line up. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's not lined up there. So we're probably going to come to, nope, not quite. There. So those 2 dots are lined up. Now we're at the correct distance up top, and remove the nut at the end. I'm going to throw some grease on this. One sec. Okay, I greased the pin, put it through here, and then you're going to pull the rod back and get it to line up in the hole. Maybe. Okay, there it goes. And the nut goes in the back. And then you tension that from there. Also at the bottom you have a nut and bolt that go through there. That keeps the pin in place. Maybe. I'll get back. Alright, ended up having to adjust this arm past those two dots a little bit just because I was not getting enough, not getting the amount of travel I needed, and this spring was way too tensioned. So I got that. I mounted the foot brake and put the bolt in, and then I was just testing with it. Feels pretty good. It is a little bit close to the case if you look directly above, but there's plenty of room in there to get your foot over. And then I was playing around with where I need to mount this foot peg, which I chopped. That originally bolted up here for the forward controls. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to notch out this guy right here so it fits a little bit lower, but it's going to go about there. It should be good, because I'm trying to avoid getting clearance issues if this cover ever has to come off. Right there. I could also chop this little part that sticks up too, because it's not really doing anything. And then the other side, which I have cut, I didn't weld the shifter yet, but it's gonna go about, I think here, that's about the same as the other side. And that'll probably get welded like that. So I'm probably gonna have to change the shifter because of that, just a little bit. But because it sticks out a little bit too far here, so it gets kind of close to the foot peg, as you can see. But yeah, I think we'll end it there. So quick night. It's very humid today though, so till the next time.